Wow, good morning, Jagitdar Rana here. Harvard or Dharwad on justice for the Indian women. That's- This is the topic, Harvard or Dharwad on justice for the Indian women. So it is ironic that the judicial handbook to combat stereotypes itself got stereotyped, but fine-tuning it to be more responsive to local circumstances is a good initiative. It's not often that a Chief Justice of India publicly questions the wisdom of his own institution in open court, which is why the observations of the present CJI, as reported in the press, that a handbook published by the Supreme Court during the tenure of one of his predecessors to combat gender stereotypes is too Harvard oriented and requires revision was unexpected. Such introspection is healthy, and doing it publicly is exactly what transparency demands. But what does it mean for a handbook on gender to be Harvard oriented? Should it be, says Dharwad oriented? So conceptually, it is doubtful whether the phrase Harvard oriented is meaningful. In any way, Harvard, after all, is a university. Like most good universities, it was a wide diversity of professors and students holding an even wider diversity of viewpoints. So Lawrence Tribes, a widely respected constitutional academic who has argued for Trump to be prosecuted, his colleagues at Harvard Law School with Adrian Warmeli, the conservative scholar who defends some of Trump's most questionable actions. Whether there is something common to both of them that can be considered to be the core, the basic structure of Harvard, if you will, is doubtful. If you will, is doubtful without such a core. So Harvard oriented is an empty phrase. Though empty, the phrase may not necessarily be hollow. Perhaps what CJI had in mind was Harvard not as a specific university but as a proxy for an academic institution. After all, he followed up his statement with a prod to fine-tune the handbook so that it can become practical and help with training judges. Any improvement should always be welcome, but this begs the question, is the handbook excessively academic? So despite this one wishes that CJI had avoided the H word, it is well known former CJI D.Y. Chandrachud, during whose tenure the handbook was published, is an alumnus of Harvard. This statement will only further the incipient view that in the last 2 decades the Supreme Court of India has become less of an institution and more a collection of individuals. One CJI started a social justice bench to hear public interest cases. Another scrapped. On the administrative side, an artificial intelligence committee was set up by the CJI. A successor for all practical purposes discontinued it. Such examples abound. The question at its core is about institutional integrity and continuity. For CJI Suryakant, the institution has always come first. This is why has called to fine-tune the handbook with a view to making it more responsive to local circumstances instead of abandoning it altogether. It was viewed as an incremental improvement to a fundamentally laudable initiative. It should be welcomed. So as the National Judicial Academy takes up this task, let's pause and reflect on what is at stake. We live in a society that can be deeply unjust to women. Judiciary does better than most, but sometimes unconsciously reverts to unjust stereotypes. So the handbook is a well-intentioned effort to correct that. In this it is not alone. Suryakant Tripathi Nirala, the giant of Hindi literature, after whom the CJI is named, evocatively wrote about a woman hard at work breaking stones Who तोड़ती पत्थर? वो तोड़ती पत्थर. She had neither shade nor rest, just a quiet determination to complete her work. Ultimately, a handbook may be written one way or another, but must serve that Indian woman who is hard at work on a hot summer day, breaking stones to learn her living. Thank you very much.